It's the way that it is. Hey
Yay.
everyone, hi Facebook world and everybody else. Welcome to Elm Street and an interview that we have scheduled with an up-and-coming director in our season of, oh gosh, what is this? Season to Prevail. It's actually the last show in our 2019-20 Season to Prevail is James and the Giant Peach in July of 2020. And we're grateful to have here someone I've known for a really, really long time, Miss Kristin Storla.
Hi. Hey, everyone.
Kristin, we're so happy you're here. And you're
Yeah, I'm excited.
Live from Georgia, correct?
Yes.
Yes. You are in Georgia. Kristin, tell us a little bit about yourself as an artist or whatnot. Give us some insight into who you are.
Yeah, so I am a freelance theater artist and a culinary storyteller. And how I break down all my freelancing is I wear many, many hats. I'm an actor, a director, and also a fight and intimacy choreographer. So that's gig life. I'm working on many productions constantly, except right now, of course. But and then for my culinary storytelling, I work with this really awesome company called Unexpected Atlanta, and we do walking food tours of the downtown Atlanta area. So I will tell you the story of where we go, the history of the food, weaving in a lot of lame jokes while you get to eat. So it's really cool.
That's awesome. Is that like a ghost tour, but with food? Kind of?
You could think of it like that, I guess. Yeah.
It's like, I was like relating.
It's more like a history tour with food.
Yeah.
Or a food tour. It's a food tour with history. How about that?
Well, you get to eat and see things. So why not do that? Yeah, it's
exactly.
Totally fun.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome. And tell us, Kristin, some of your experience directing. What are some of the things that you've done before? And I know you've done some stuff with Elm Street. You can tell us, we'll go into your history with Elm Street in a little bit, but tell us some of the things you've directed before.
So I think one of the first things I ever did was actually up at Elm Street when we did King Arthur. I think, I have the poster right behind me. That was in, there's no year on it, but it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. And more recently, I directed Working the Musical at Out of Box Theater, co-directed The Hobbit at Synchronicity. That was a co-production with Synchronicity and Havoc Movement Company, which is a great little up-and-coming company that I love. And I've also assistant directed a few things. Bat Hamlet, that was a hoot. And I assistant directed Three Musketeers at the Shakespeare Tavern. So getting my hands in as many pots as I can.
Yeah, I feel like you have a your repertoire, or at least recently. I've known you for a long time, and the things that you've done as an actress, and also working in classes and things like that. But you sound like you're very much into the fight type things. You are a fight choreographer, I know, but like these adventure stories, is that something that attracts you, and why do you find it attracting?
Yeah, so I think I grew up on adventure stories, like reading all the like Tamora Pierce books, reading Once and Future King, like all the Arthurian, I think is how we say it, legends of Star Wars. So I think adventures is where we follow the protagonist, the hero, and we learn along with them. Or we sit back and we're like, oh, I would have done that totally different. So there's always a great point of view that we garner from watching adventure stories. And for me, because I do have I come from a fight background, action is really, I'm really interested in the storytelling of action and what we can pull from that as well.
Yeah, that's so cool. So tell us what kind of training you have fight choreography wise. I know that you know a lot of stuff, and you've taught workshops with us too. Yeah, pow. Yeah. I know that I've seen she has an Instagram and everything like that. She has all these little things she plays with all the time. So tell us.
I have my armory right here. I mean, we can just let me unsheath this real quick. There we go. Yeah. So my training for fight choreography that started with the Society of American Fight Directors. They are kind of one of the top companies, organizations that teaches stage combat. They have 8 different weapon styles, so you can certify in each of those weapon styles. And so I've been training with them since, I think I took my first class when I was like 12. It was great. I gave my instructor a black eye and a bloody nose on accident, and ever since then, like, I was hooked. So I've been training for a long time with that, mainly in European weapon styles. We're talking like sword and shield, rapier, some knife work, unarmed, of course, is in there. But more recently, I'm really interested in learning everything else and then applying that in. However I can. So I've done a few things with puppetry, and so taking the principles of that and how it can apply into combat. I've done stuff with whips, a little bit of circus work, flow arts. So I think it all kind of can feed in to what is just, at the end of the day, nonverbal storytelling. Yeah. I just choose to do it with a big shiny hunk of steel.
And do you find that you'll be using some of those methods, and have you used those methods in your directorial style before?
Oh, good question. Yeah, because this is where I came up through is in fights, in the fight world. I do kind of let that be the foundation of my directorial work. So, oh goodness, I've never thought of exactly how I break that down. It's just like, yeah, that's what I do. But how do I break that down? I think when I'm looking for a specific movement or kind of nugget that I want an actor to find, it's coming back to the action of it, right? And let's really break it down to like, okay, what happens when we move this way and then that way, and then what does that bring up for your character? What does that bring up for you? So that actors can have these discoveries organically through movement work. And I'm not just saying, okay, well, if you move this way, this way, this way, we'll tell the story, because then they wouldn't know what they're doing. So yeah, for me, it just all comes back to action.
Yeah, I feel like that's I can agree with that as far as a choreography standpoint, or even just ensemble work, those kind of things. The movement definitely, what is it, 90% of acting is reacting and movement, and 10% is actually words. So I totally agree with that stance. Yeah, it's fun. So tell us a little bit about James and the Giant Peach. We're going to jump right into it.
Cool.
And what are your thoughts on the story, and then how are we translating those thoughts to the stage? So we're going to go through your whole artistic vision. We sat and had brunch a while ago. I was going to say the other day. It wasn't
when we could be in person.
Yeah, when we could be in person, we had brunch.
In the before times.
Yeah, right. A few months ago.
Yeah. So this is a story I've really grown to love. I remember when I was a kid, like I was really scared of the book. I think like the one we had in our copy in the library just had illustrations that just kind of wigged me out. So I never read the book until I was like in my 20s. But I in this production specifically, the musical of it, the music's really what pulled me into it, because it's such a great vehicle for the emotion and the tone of the story. So I really identify with James. He is this kid with such a strong sense of independence, and also of I don't know if justice is the right word, but just like, no, this isn't right.
Yeah.
This isn't right. I know this isn't right. So how can we navigate that? And I love this headstrong kid, which is like something I wish I was like when I was like 8 or 9. But the story is so cool because it is viewed through his perspective. And perspective is a big thing for me on this production, because, we go from being in this 3D world that we see before us to, okay, now we're zoomed in and we're inside of a peach, and now we're zoomed out and we're on top of the peach, and now we're in New York. And so playing with perspective is going to be really interesting for me. Is going to be really interesting for the production, I think, so that we can offer this lens to the audience to just, okay, now we're here, now we're out back here, and how does that change our story? How does that change our our perspective of the perspective.
Look at that. Double perspective.
Getting real meta here. Yeah.
We are. We're getting real meta.
But there's so much magic in it. I think it's great.
Yes. And we've talked a little bit about the characters. The characters are so lively, and how you view them. And you've talked a little bit about perspective. What are some ways that production wise you're hoping to do with that perspective? I know that there's some elements that you're bringing in that we're excited about.
So one thing I'm really stoked for is there's going to be a lot of puppetry within the show. The bug and insect characters primarily will be puppets, 3D puppets, as well as we're going to include shadow puppetry as well. So that way we can go to a big landscape and tell a story, you know, with shadow puppets over here, and maybe have the 3D life of it downstage while that's going on upstage. So there can be a lot going on. So puppetry, I'm very, very excited about bringing in. I'm also like, while I have all this downtime in quarantine, I'm trying to learn like basic magic as well, because I think that can feed in very nicely as well.
Yeah, sleight of hand. Because there is something magical, and you mentioned that there is something magical with this show, and the music does lend itself to be magical. The whole journey is very lively, again, with the bugs and with James and this absurd peach that they ride on and in, it's a wonderful show, and that's why we were so happy to do it. But we definitely needed someone with the mindset of the vision that can cast that, and so we're happy that we have Kristin doing that with us. So yay. So tell us a little bit about the characters. So this is kind of like the 411 on, I don't know, is 411 still a thing? Probably dating myself.
Totally.
The 411 on what actors might expect, what you're looking for certain characters. James, the bugs, the evil ants, is that what they are? They're not ants, but aunts. Aren't they aunts?
Aunts, yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Spiker and Sponge.
Yes.
Yeah, so going through them, James, I love his just kind of like wide-eyed whimsy that he sees the whole world in, even when things aren't going right, like I was speaking of earlier. So someone that can, and that just takes in the whole world for exactly what it is, almost at face value, and just being able to dive in immediately and do a jitterbug with bugs.
Yeah.
That was unintentionally really funny. Or that can stand up against his aunts when need be. Spiker and Sponge, I think they're the two aunts of James that take him in from the orphanage. I think these are the two characters I would really want to be one of, for sure. They kind of, they remind me almost of like the two, I don't remember their names, but the two little minions of Hades from Hercules.
Oh, Pain and Panic.
Yeah. You know, you got one tall one that kind of is the bossy one, and then the shorter, rounder character that just is kind of like, oh, well, here we go.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of comedic relief from them. I'm interested in finding two people that can really play off each other, maybe have a little bit of improv chops, maybe some clown work in there as well. But those two characters totally have my heart right now.
Yeah.
When we get to the bugs, I'm going to pull up a note or two here that I have. So each of them kind of have their own place within James's framework of a family. Because I think that's something that James is really searching for, especially at the top of the show. And he finds at the end, these bugs are now his new family that he creates, or they all create together. So, you know, you've got the grasshopper that kind of fills that fatherly role and guides him through their journey together and kind of sits him down to teach him what's what about the world. Not the spider. Yes, the ladybug. Yeah. Ladybug, thank you. Kind of filling that maternal role. They have this really sweet number together of you know, we're with you and we're your family. I believe the spiders was funky and fun, kind of like that sisterly role. You've got the earthworm. If I'm not mistaken, he's the one that's just kind of like sitting back on his heels and doesn't really want to buy in to the magic and the journey that the rest of the characters are creating. And that's a really interesting character to me that I don't know if I've kind of like cracked exactly how I want to navigate that, but I think it's a very important juxtaposition so that it's not just all like, hey, everyone's happy and the world's a magical place, because that's not always the reality of things. And I don't want to, right? It feels very real right now. Yeah. And I think that is like such a gift that we are given in the show and from the book that, we can.
Oh no, did I lose Kristin?
But not make it too.
Repeat that again for me. You said something about can it.
Yeah, I think it's a gift having this earthworm character that doesn't buy into all the fun, because it's a reality that the story doesn't shy away from being a children's narrative.
Yeah,
I think that's great, because quite often I see children's stories that are always just like, boo, 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 everything's happy and wonderful, and that's not always the reality that we're given. So I think that's very important to have that juxtaposition within the story.
And we're looking at casting adults playing certain roles, or young adults, or older teens playing some roles. James potentially a child, just depending on, and also boy or girl, correct? Where gender is James can be played by either, so it just depends on who shows up to audition, and we're happy for that. Even if you don't have puppeting experience or clowning, all of those things, I'm sure that those things will come across in rehearsal time, but it's always
for casting, I'm really intrigued just to see what people can bring to the table. I'm more interested in seeing someone bring themselves to the work than showcasing that they've done X, Y, and Z before. I always think any director worth their own salt can help a performer at any leg of their journey to the common end goal. So you don't necessarily need to come in with any of that experience from the beginning. And I'm super interested. There's a number of characters I'm looking to do gender blind casting on as well.
Yes, love it. We always love that. So I did want to bring up just one more thing. James, we're very excited about, and we'll be getting into that audition process, probably online audition process, toward the end of the month here, end of April. So keep a look on our website for that. But before we go, I do have some questions for you, just as far as an artist. And you were talking about, being quarantined and the time that you have learning magic and things like that. And I know you said that you do have some projects lined up and whatnot, but we always ask, how important this kind of situation is for you, for us to know what we can do to help directors or actors, or what's the best thing to do in that situation, and what to tell other actors out there, just to bring light to the situation, just because we always like to keep open communication and keeping everybody engaged. So I know that was kind of a loaded question, but due to the unique circumstances we're in, it's always nice to know how can we help each other out, right?
Yeah. I think for the community of artists that we have here in Atlanta, it's really important to keep supporting one another. I know a lot of us don't have projects currently to work on and execute, but just reaching out to castmates you maybe had a couple years ago, or that you had coming up, and just checking in. That's a big thing for me myself. Just check in with each other, make sure you're supporting, keeping this kind of uplifted response to everything we've got going on. But kind of going back to what I was saying with the earthworm, is like this is our reality, and we can't shy away from that. I know for myself in this first week or so through the shelter in place and this quarantine, is I just was like, oh no, I'll clean everything in my apartment. I got this huge to-do list I'll blast through. And then the reality set in of just the weight of it all. And that's something we can't deny. So having conversations with your peers, with fellow artists, you know, sitting down and just saying like, yeah, this stinks. This really stinks. I'm not having a good day today, and just living that truth. So I think that's really important. And beyond that, I think this time can really provide a renaissance for us, artistically. You know, we're all so pent up and stir crazy and needing to create something that I think once we are let loose back into the world, it's going to be amazing what all we can put out there. And so that's really the time to just like jump in, go see everything you can, go support, go usher, go volunteer, just go help be a part of this movement that is inevitable to happen, because I'm really excited to see what comes of this.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I agree. It's crazy and it's unknown, and you know, we don't know what will come out of this, but we do know that good is coming. So it's a good place and a good thing to hear from you, as far as how all of this should be viewed. So, Kristin, besides James, where can we find you now, and what can we do to help you out?
So besides James, what I have upcoming is I'm a regular company member with Havoc Movement Company that I mentioned earlier. So I'll be, you can see me in and out of their upcoming season. Again, that's kind of postponed to exactly when those dates are, but you can check us out online at Havoc Movement Company. Also, I'll be in a production of Fighting Words, but I'll be acting in it. And fighting a little bit. But Fighting Words, that'll be produced by Arish Theater. We're slotted to do that in early fall, but again, that is up in the air currently. That, and surely that's not all that's on my plate. Maybe it is.
And
yeah,
James.
That's what I, and James, of course, James. Of course.
We need to.
I'll be working with Actors Express, again, whenever the show can happen, but I'll be intimacy directing their production of Desire Under the Elms.
Nice.
That'll be
Yay.
exciting.
See, Kristin's saying so busy. Well, thank you so much. If you have any questions for Kristin at all after watching this, feel free to reach out to Elm Street, and we will try to get those answered from her. She's willing and able to do so. Totally. Because, you know, you're just learning magic tricks, right?
That's all I got. Magic and swords. So.
Sounds like a fun place to be. I would want to be in a place with magic and swords.
Yeah.
And we hope that you'll join us in July to come and see the work that Kristin will put on our stage with James and the Giant Peach. And if you're interested in auditioning, again, we're going to put that information out by the end of the month. But thank you so much, Kristin, for joining me. And we'll be talking with you soon, and we'll be talking with you soon. And stay safe, stay healthy. And that's about
Hydrate, feel great.
Yes, hydrate, feel great. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks for having me. Bye.